Sasaki steps in with a jab to the body, exits with his hands low, and Brian Norman Jr. scores a potential knockout of the year with this one. Just absolutely flatlines him. You know, I've been off for a while, and this is an awesome fight to come back to. Brian Norman Jr. goes over to Japan, likely gets paid very well for doing so, right? Defends his belt in front of a hostile crowd, and goes out there and just absolutely obliterates the competition, man. What a performance. What a performance. Okay, he goes out there, and it was pretty obvious from the first round, seeing as how Sasaki got dropped 2 times, that he was overmatched. Nevertheless, the man's got a chin. The man has heart. And he goes out there, no quit in him. Goes out there, starts firing shots, throwing everything with bad intentions. And to be perfectly honest with you, he caught Brian Norman Jr. with some shots. He caught him throwing in between his punches. He was trying to get off with that left hook. Maybe a lesser man would have been dropped. Maybe a lesser man would have been discouraged, because it looked as though he caught Norman with some clean ones and potentially maybe hurt him at times, maybe wobbled him a little bit, maybe had him questioning what exactly he was doing and how aggressively he was going to do it. Nevertheless, Brian Norman Jr. went out there and did everything he wanted, man. I love the way he controlled the distance, controlled the pace, fought both going forward and going backwards, was creative in his punch selection. He was able to go out there and use the sweeping right hand. He was able to use the check left hook. He was able to control distance and range and pace with the jab. He was able to go out there and do a lot of things, showed off all the tools and all the tricks that he's got in his bag. Okay? And it's interesting going into the fight. Of course, we were talking about what Brian Norman Jr. was going to do. Of course, we were talking about how he was the favorite and he needed to go out and show something big. And this was an opportunity to put himself on the stage and raise his star up even more. He's a young guy, but he's a title holder, and 147 is a historical division. But one of the things that we were talking about was Jaron Boots Ennis. Boots goes out there and pulls what I call the Floyd Mayweather move. Okay, boxers can only fight, 2, maybe 3 times a year. It's hard to keep your name in the press all the time. It's hard to only fight that many times per year, but also have everybody talking about you a lot. So one of the things that I thought Floyd did, call it great, call it conniving, call it whatever you want, but one of the things that he did from a promotional standpoint was he found ways to attach his name to all of the current events. So for example, Andre Ward would go out and have a fight, and then all of a sudden Floyd would go out and say something like, "That was a great performance by Andre Ward, but he's not better than Floyd Mayweather." Used to love talking about himself in the third person too. But he would go out there and he would say something like that, and making a tweet or making a statement like that would force people in a way to start talking about Floyd. They would be talking about Ward, and then all of a sudden Floyd would find a way to attach his name attach his name to the performance or the event or Andre Ward's name at the time. And he did it with everybody. I'm just picking Ward as an example. But it was a way that he did it that even though he was only performing 2 or 3 times a year, he kept his name in the news and he kept himself relevant and he kept people talking about him, which made when he did fight potentially even bigger and a more lucrative event. So that's what, in my opinion, we saw Boots do with this one. We see Brian Norman Jr. getting ready to fight. He knows that people want to see him fight. So the first thing he does is come out, and that's when he decides to make his announcement. Boom, moving up to 154 pounds. Right, wants to attach his name to everything that's going on with this right now. Did it work? We were talking about him. It wasn't a Boots Ennis fight week, and we were talking about Boots a lot. So in that sense, it did work. Now look, as fight fans, as people who love the sport and understand the historical significance, we want to see a fight between Boots and Norman. Man, these dudes are monsters at 147 pounds. But Boots says he can't make the weight anymore. What are you going to do? He says it's too tough to drain down. What are you going to do? Right, he's a big guy. We all knew that it was just a matter of time before he moved to 154. He's telling us that time's now. In a way, if he pulled this as a promotional move in the sense of when he made the announcement, he's moving up to 154, which is a division which is just absolutely stacked with talent. So whoever he decides to go in there and fight is likely going to be an awesome event and one that we look forward to potentially now. We're even talking about it a little bit more. We're talking about all the what ifs if he could have stayed at 147. Look, there's been some mishandling of the things that Boots has done with the potential move to 154 to fight Virgil Ortiz. Then all of a sudden that's a pump fake, stays down at 147. There's this talk about him fight with him and Teofimo. That's not going to happen. Walks away from that without anything on the horizon. Now all of a sudden, everyone wants to see him fight Brian Norman Jr. At the same time, he announces, now I'm really going to move up to 154, not a pump fake this time. So look, man, a lot of things, a lot of potential fights, a lot of talk about it. We need to see that happen. But we've gotten sidetracked a little bit. Brian Norman Jr., awesome performance. If Boots is out at 147, does this make him the clear-cut man? Is he the man at 147? Even though it's not like he's sitting there, he's not undisputed. He doesn't hold all the belts. But what we've seen, the performances, his age, what he's able to go out there and do, the division is a little bit in transition at this point. Does this performance make Brian Norman Jr. the man at 147 pounds? Let me know what you guys think. Did you love what he went out there and put on today? Would you have really wanted to see a fight between him and Boots at 147? Or are you glad that Boots is moving up to 154 and Brian Norman Jr. has now stuck his flag in the ground and cemented it at the top of the mountain and everybody needs to come chase him? Let me know what you guys think.